know what he's counting down to.
He's overthinking it.
Oh, I just hit record.
I don't believe you. I think you've hit record this whole time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Drunk Tank.
Welcome back to the Drunk Tank. We've tried several times. It's not taking.
Well, I say we just do the intro now. Because, like, usually people...
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we usually wait till the end to do the intro.
Usually when people...
Because we don't know what's in the episode yet. That's why we wait till the end.
The episodes, we're about to do shots of Bacardi.
But I just feel like, Joe's going away, and we're not going to get a chance to record an intro. I say we just, like,
wait, when you say Joe's going
now.
away, it sounds like, they caught up with him.
They caught up with him.
Yeah, they found him, you know.
They finally caught him on that skin beef.
No, I'm going to Rage in Colorado
about,
for like
16
10 days.
years.
It's fine.
What I mean is...
Did the plants sneak that one in?
Luke, it's just going to keep happening. Just
you can't
accept
just keep
it.
doing
Let me just
this.
preface
Yeah,
it. So Luke has this app on his phone, and what is it? Radiolab? Skylab? What is
Actually,
it called?
I'm happy to talk about the episode that it's playing. I just turned the volume down. Hopefully that works.
It keeps popping up on his phone and playing this.
Something about the way I wired my
podcast
phone
thing.
into the mixer, for some reason, every, 45 seconds,
Or
it
when
just
Johnny
starts playing
talks.
the podcast. But I think it's actually when Johnny talks, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, Johnny, say
Shuttlecock.
What?
That would have been so cool. I
Yeah.
said shuttlecock. I was hoping that did it.
Isn't a shuttlecock what they use in badminton?
Yeah, it's the birdie.
Yeah.
All right,
they
Joe,
call it a birdie
it's
because
a shuttlecock.
people giggle at shuttlecock.
Yeah.
Explain to people what they just downloaded.
Oh God. Well, this is going up as a real Thunk Tank original episode, but this is actually what we normally do as sort of our after-hour special for our very loyal Patreon subscriber fans, which you can become if you like. In fact, we'll link it in the description below for you.
I didn't mean you had to go into Patreon character mode, just...
Oh, I don't know. I figured why not
no one wants
plug
to
it the
hear
whole
that
way.
shit. Give them some good content.
All right,
and then
fine.
ask for money
We're
at
really
the end.
drunk, and we're going to tell you some truth. And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay here.
Here's my version of it. We usually start drinking beer at the beginning
feel
of
like
an
I was pretty
episode,
drunk.
and then by the end of the episode, we're a little bit drunk, right?
Right,
This time, we were already drunk, and then we hit record.
right.
The drunk
Yes.
tank is sort of like a tank that you can't enter into unless your blood alcohol content is something like... What did we say the limit was?
Like, you can't go places.
Well, was it like 0.1?
Luke,
But
you know
definitely
drunk
can't
tank is a
drive
real
then.
thing already, right?
What?
Drunk tank is a real thing. It's
Yeah,
where they
that's-
lock up the drunks in the police station.
That's why it's a joke.
You might not. Traditionally, I think it was like the local drunk. You weren't going
It's
to
where you
charge
sober
them,
up,
and-
right?
Yeah, you just lock them in there.
Traditionally,
It's
yeah.
the tank full of drunks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
it's more like septic tank.
Right.
I like to think of ours as like a cool
But we-
army tank with beer.
Yeah, so we usually start with an episode where we have like a topic like, space oceans or politics.
And
or
we more or
Kurt
less
Vonnegut.
stay on topic.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
drift
some
and
thinly
we
veiled
vary.
excuse.
Yeah, and we have a good time and we get a little
Very
silly.
thin.
But usually what happens is if we go into Drunk Tank with an episode, it's because at a certain point we're like, uh-oh, we've gone over the edge.
Yeah,
Like,
we can
we're
sort of
slipping.
feel like we're slipping, and
Yeah.
then we only want the people to hear us who are actually like so dedicated to the concept of Thunk Tank
Yeah.
that they're giving us at
Yeah.
least $1 an episode.
And so I would
So-
like to cheers for them and raise our
Joe,
shot
what
glasses.
shot are you trying to give me? Because I am going to drive home later, and I am teaching in the morning. I just want to know what I'm putting in my body.
It's liquor.
What kind? Rum?
Yeah.
No problem.
Wow.
If you said
okay.
gin,
Clear-
problem. But
It's clear rum. You'll be
all right,
fine.
guys, we're taking a
Yeah.
shot of rum, and we're getting this Drunk Tank started off the right way.
Yeah. Well, start
So
out the
can
drunk
I
one.
give my definition of it since you both did one?
And we both failed. Yeah,
Well, it was just
Yeah,
totally
big time.
conflicting. No, it wasn't. It was actually
it
pretty
wasn't
close.
conflicting so much as it was just drunk.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that checks out.
confusing. Yeah. So I would say that the drunk tank is where we like the demarcation line and from when we really should stop the podcast. Like once we
Yeah.
say, hey, we should start editing here and turn this into a two-parter with a drunk tank, it really means we should have stopped casting like 40 minutes before.
Oh, definitely,
So we're
yeah.
gonna just lean into it hard and try to do one intentionally.
Right,
and
right.
not having a topic besides just drinking and rambling gives us a little more freedom, because that's the one thing this program was lacking was a looser structure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's
honestly,
fair.
folks,
So
we
glad
felt
that's
like
what-
in the first 16 episodes that you heard, we were just way too serious, and I feel like we were just coming at it from too hard of an academic angle with all our sources and whatnot.
Well,
so
we do have
this
sources
time we're
and
trying
shit,
to just,
you know?
we're trying to roll our sleeves up and take
Yeah.
our ties off and just loosen up
Here's
a
some
little
proof,
bit.
guys. Check it out.
I feel like
notepad's empty.
Johnny's got a notepad that's just gleamingly clean.
I feel like we should reveal some secrets, like because we did that once about ourselves, but like for example about the studio, like okay, the power cord is on, or may not be, because this is all alleged information, may not be on a pair of my pajama pants.
Wait, I have a promotional game. How about to any listener who listens on Apple platform?
Oh man,
if they leave a rating,
the specific company.
rating and a review,
Yeah.
and then like screenshot that and email it to thunktankpodcast@gmail.com.
Sounds like a lot of work.
We'll send you a picture of our ghetto setup, which involves me speaking through a sock, which is what I'm doing right now.
How do I have the most legit setup out of the
We
three?
don't
Like,
know.
I would
have
say
a
by
real
far.
studio. I have a desk.
Yeah,
I have a
Johnny's
good
talking
mic.
through a Audio Technica. What the fuck model is that? It's the
It's the ATR
ATR 2500,
2100.
2100.
It's got a high BTU yield, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Yields the nar-narest tube-tastic.
Bro, those BTUs, bro.
BTUs. Do you know what BTU stands for?
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
No, I don't.
No, me either.
You ready for this?
No.
Some bullshit. British Thermal Unit.
Oh my god, that's such bullshit.
I know, right?
Yeah. Except to our British listeners, like, share, and subscribe.
So here's a
was
secret
that,
about
Joe?
me. Here, let me reveal
Been
a
doing
secret
shots for a while, dude.
early on with no context, and I won't give any till later. I used to sell. I used to make commission on selling pool heaters. So
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go. That's why I know what
Such a
the fuck
random
BTU
background
is.
story for one of us. Oh yeah, I used to make commission on selling
Actually,
pool
Johnny,
heaters.
that
And you a few,
you,
know, here
you
and there.
just actually
Yeah, that's
slipped
reasonable.
in your secret like very early on. Very well.
Yeah.
But with no context.
You know way more than any of our listeners about pools.
We don't know that.
I know way more than anyone else on the podcast.
That's
about them.
true.
That's definitely true.
That's absolutely true. I know how to swim in them.
Do you though? I've seen you. You
I can
flail a bit.
I can swim better than you, but you can belly flop forever
I
better
can swim
than I
better
can.
than you.
I
Just
doubt-
because you can
Are
swim
serious?
farther because you're in better shape doesn't mean you have better form. If you put us in like a backyard pool that was only 50 feet
I would
and we
still
weren't
be,
racing, and it was just all right. Take your time. Whoever has the best form.
What are we,
and you had a
turtles? What are you
panel of
talking about?
swimmers,
Take our time.
I think I would win.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No, I knew. I know. I used to
You
know
sink like a
swimmers. I
burlap
gotta-
sack full of bricks.
Well, yeah, if I stop moving, but it's like a plane. You use that momentum, fall forward.
It's
right?
not how planes move.
So,
Kinda.
Johnny, I feel like you were trying to one up us with your description of the drunk tank, and then you just talked about BTUs.
You also never said what you were going to say. Oh, wait.
Did
is that
I?
what you said?
Didn't I though?
I don't know. So
well, Luke,
anyway,
you actually ruined it. I was
No,
gonna
he
wait
said
like
it.
another. I was gonna wait like
He
another
said it.
45 minutes and then say, well, so that's my description of what the drunk tank is.
I got you.
Make this whole thing the description, but
So, do you guys listen to the Tim Ferriss show at all? That podcast?
hold on. Before we get into that, can we talk about what beers we're drinking? I see
Oh,
you
yeah.
drinking stuff that's not Bacardi rum.
So, this was kind of a last minute thrown together thing. We usually try to have,
a nice fancy selection.
something that
Quality.
would worthy a login on Untapped. Let's say that's a beer, that's a craft beer app. But anyways, I'm drinking a tall boy of Sierra Nevada Torpedo, Johnny, and I'm loving it.
Isn't that a craft brewery? Or it was?
Technically is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny in the evolution of my own drinking of beer. Like there was a time where
Well, that was the craft
that
beer.
was
yeah.
the like, oh, I'm going fancy tonight.
Yeah, as opposed to like, oh yeah, 30 rack of
And
like
it's only in the
natty
last 2 years that
ice.
became a sort of like settle for beer.
Yeah.
And then like I don't ever find myself buying like the piss water kind of like Bud Light, Budweiser kind of beer.
Right.
I'll have one if it's offered to me at like a party where I don't have any other beer.
Or like a barbecue or something.
as long as it's cold enough, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like they have like you go somewhere, they have like mixed drinks, wine, and beer, and you go, all right, what beer? And the best option is like Michelob Ultra or Blue Moon, and it's like, all right, I guess I'll have a Blue Moon, and then after two of those, you're like, I guess I'm drinking Mich Ultra. Let's get one of those,
Right.
because you're like, what? I'm gonna have Miller instead. I'm gonna have MGD, like whatever.
Yeah.
like you just pick one.
That is the trajectory, you're right.
But,
But on
no,
the,
there's
on
nothing
the
wrong-
scale of beers that aren't like really high end, let's say, There are those that I really find offensively bad. Like Bud Light. I have a hard time if I'm at home. Let's say on any given night.
Well, it's like Heineken.
And I'm
I can't
about to
drink
watch
it
a
anymore.
Netflix show.
It makes me sick.
If I have nothing in the fridge, I pour a glass of water and watch the Netflix
Right.
show. If I happen to have a really good beer in the fridge, just as I'm about to hit start, I think to myself, oh yeah, I got that really good beer in the fridge.
Yeah, right.
Now, if there's a Bud Light in my fridge, which last year there was like a Bud Light in my fridge forever, somebody moved out and left it in there, and then nobody was touching it.
Right.
There was a point where I was like in a snowstorm or some shit like that, like where I couldn't go out and get beer if I wanted it even.
Yeah.
And I did want beer. It's like
And
a
you were
snowstorm.
Cold.
And I was like, I'm not going fucking all the way downstairs to get a Bud Light, Like, Bud Light is something different, where if there was a Yinling in there or this Sierra Nevada Torpedo,
Yeah.
So you're saying, Luke,
sprinted
is
downstairs.
you would die if you had a draft set up like a kegerator like I do. You wouldn't survive.
Oh, it would not be healthy. No. No, I
'Cause
mean,
you
like,
would
I've
just-
always limited my diet.
Because when you have a keg in your house, it's like, oh, do I want a beer or do I want the other 55 beers I just have to pull a lever to get to? So
Exactly.
it's hard to. I've done it where I just be like, I just want half a beer. And then I do that like 4 or
Right.
5 times after having a few beers. And then I go to be like, you know what? I need another half a beer. There's 10 minutes left in the movie. And I stand up and I'm like, oh, those halves added up. I'm hammered. I got to stop having half beers.
Right. And then at some point, like, you realize if I just had 2 full beers, I would have realized the same thing. Like,
So you're drinking the Torpedo. What's the place it was made? Where is it made?
well, let's see if this can even says it.
Should
So,
you find out where it was
Chico,
made?
California. But Miles River, North Carolina is another city. on
Mills
here.
River.
Mills River.
I've been there. That's why I was asking. I'm trying to segue
So
into that.
it doesn't indicate at which place this particular can was brewed, but I'm sure if we looked it up, we could find out if Torpedo's brewed in California or North Carolina.
Well, it's the East Coast, so they have 2. They have the West Coast and East Coast. The North Carolina one, so they don't have to ship beer from California.
Do you say shit beer?
So
Shit.
they might do everything at each one. You're saying?
Maybe, I don't know. But I went to their North Carolina facility, and it's like a Disney World for beer, but it's like a Jurassic Park of beer also.
Ooh.
Like they have a giant, like 100-acre piece of property, and you drive up, and there's like a gate that opens with their logo, and you drive up through the woods through this like winding road that you can only go 2 miles per hour. And I started singing the Jurassic Park theme. I was like, da da da.
That's so
Da,
funny
da, da.
because I have a
And Karis
Snapchat
described-
of myself entering Treehouse Brewing doing the same thing because they
I've
set
seen
their
that
whole
Snapchat,
new.
yeah.
They like Treehouse used to be a very very small place, and they within the past year or a year and a half they moved to like this big facility, and they're mass producing now like at a level they never did.
Yeah.
But they set the whole thing up to feel like Jurassic Park. Like there's a parking
Why
lot
not?
right by the highway, and then if you drive up, you go through these big gates, and it just feels like I could hear that. Like, what the fuck is the actor's name? The old white guy with like the white hair and the white beard. He just goes, "Welcome to Jurassic Park."
Welcome
you know?
to Treehouse.
That was
Yeah.
David. That's actually David Attenborough's brother.
Wait,
Really?
And he's the guy who directed Gandhi, the movie from the 80s, which is amazing
Why do
and
you
way
know
too
any
long.
of this?
No one has seen it recently because no one's going to
How
sit
do you
down
know
for 5
any of
hours.
this?
But he directed that.
Do you know how
I
many
forget-
people?
Richard Attenborough. That's who it is.
Richard
I don't know
Attenborough,
why. Don't ask me. But that's who that.
the
guy
slightly
is.
less good brother.
Like
Well-
Elon Musk's brother, Steve.
I don't know. David Attenborough
Musk.
voiced
Any
over.
sibling of Elon Musk is in
on.
trouble.
David Attenborough has voiced over a lot of animals doing stuff, but I've never once seen a scene of him running with a dinosaur in the frame.
That's fair enough.
So,
Yeah,
or
touche.
being in the scene with a dinosaur. He didn't hold a baby velociraptor.
they do have
so-
like equally successful than like careers, right? Because David Attenborough, he's
Yeah, that's true.
amazing.
Yeah.
equal, totally equal.
When I was in Colorado, weed is legal in Colorado, so I was
What?
I was hiking and smoking weed, and
Good luck running for office. So.
I canceled my run for office that I said last episode.
yeah, we nominated you.
we ran the poll numbers. It wasn't
Yeah,
looking
it
good.
didn't add up.
Yeah.
Checks out.
So me and my friend, who we actually might call on this episode,
Or might call us.
we were walking through this hike, and we started just naturally, because we were kind of stoned, we started naturally like narrating the humans that we were watching, as if we were David Attenborough, like watching animals,
Yeah.
and we were just like, the older male cares for the young female as she figures out how to balance herself in this slippery environment.
It's much more fun to do that at McDonald's or Walmart than it is in nature, though. I've done it.
Yeah,
Walmart
meanwhile,
is
we're
obviously
in
the
this
best.
beautiful, like, scenic
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain nature. But if
Yeah.
you do it in McDonald's, you're just like the fat old one shoves greasy French fries into his like ugly,
Stuffy gullet.
stuffy
No,
gullet.
it's so much better.
He leans his
they're
right
in
butt cheek
Walmart.
up to fart.
No, in Walmart, it's more like, the male is angry because the female has failed to find this part she's looking for on this particular adventure.
The vacuum that
All
was
the
supposed
while,
to
the
be on
children
sale.
suffer developmental damage through a lack of attention. And it just shows, how the kids
Because
are
he
running around.
was wacky as well
Oh,
as
it was wacky. Thank you.
It was a wacky.
That was my fault.
No,
I
that
think
was a great timed soundbite. Good
There
board
are
work, Luke.
McDonald's and Walmarts, by the
what I'm
way, so
going
you
to
could
do
go
is-
there, Johnny.
unplug the micro. Yeah, okay. I'll plug this
So-
in if we make a drunk call. I'll plug this
But
in
how are you
again.
going to know if he
So
calls?
Mills River is pretty
We'll
much
still hear
just
it.
Sierra
Yeah.
Nevada. It's like 100 acres. They put so many solar panels. The parking lot is covered with solar panels, so you can park your car in the shade in a big section. There's one side that's just solar panels. They had the bike racks have like toolkits in them and shit, so you can fix your bike if you're there. And they have this stormwater system, so like they're a positive net or whatever negative net impact. Like they give power back to the local grid or sell it back. Like they collect more water than they need, so they just like run it off when they need to or whatever. So it's an amazing place. And,
Wait, that's the Sierra Nevada place?
the one in Mills River, yeah,
Wow,
and
cool.
the size. And I remember I went through because you can do a private tour. There's a self-guided tour where you can like walk around and you can see actual tanks and production stuff through glass. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go and look for like dust in a corner or something that's out of place. Like I'll find something that's like nothing, man. There's no cobwebs. There's
Wow.
nothing. That place is
Sterile.
yeah, it was impressive for like a place that big.
Did they
I was
have
like, oh, that's
McDonald's?
why. No, they had really good food in the bag. I suggest you get the spicy pimento cheese if you go.
Ooh,
But anyways,
look at that.
Sierra Nevada, still craft beer.
That's what I'm
Torpedo's
talking about.
Solid beer. Yeah, good choice, Luke.
Yeah.
Joe, what are
and-
you drinking?
That's the 7-Eleven where I usually, if I like, I often get out of a gig like late at night, and if I don't have a nice craft beer at home, after a concert, I really need a beer. It's just like a routine,
It's part of the
And
unwinding
I'll
process.
often just grab one of these Sierra Nevada torpedoes from 7-Eleven because
Isn't it great? Remember when we were like 18, 19? It was there's maybe one like a Yingling or something or a Corona tall boy in there, and I go
Right.
to the gas station now and there's like 3 or 4 IPA tall boys.
now you
in
said
which
18,
the
19,
best-
but like you weren't even worried about beer at that age, obviously, right?
Well, he's
Well, I mean, I
imagining,
couldn't
he's
buy it, but I
speculating.
saw it in the store.
Right, so you were just worried about the visual part.
Right, the aesthetic.
Right,
The
and I definitely
aesthetics,
wasn't
yeah.
like aware of beer changing before 21. To be able to time it like that.
But that's
I
true.
mean, like whether or not I drank beer before I was 21,
Just
I was
stupid.
definitely not aware of like beer. Like
Well,
I was
for
drinking
sure.
whatever I could get my hands on.
But I remember like you would
Allegedly.
be in 7-Eleven and it was like, yeah, the best beer was like Sam Adams. Like
I don't even know.
Well, no. Before that, even there's the choice of like somebody was buying the beer, and let's say
hypothetically.
they were older than you, so that gave them more free time to do it.
You mean like an older brother or something like that?
Yeah, like they're not
I
in
wouldn't know
school
anything about
anymore,
that.
so they have the time to go pick up the beer while you're busy doing something.
Right.
So it's just a busy thing. It's not like one's older than 21 and the other one's younger.
No,
but,
I mean, I just mentioned that just
that'd be absurd.
to frame why they have more
That's just-
time.
yeah.
no, it has nothing to do with more free time on their hands.
Yeah.
It has
I
nothing to
was
do-
obviously just kidding. I'm describing illegal behavior, and obviously, like, we're
Oh my
not
god,
into
is that a Sam Adams?
Yeah, I'm about to crack a Sam Adams tall boy.
But the choices you used to
Ooh.
get would be, you did get a choice. It's like, all right, what do you want? Like, I'll get you
Yeah.
a 30 case of, Miller, whatever it is.
Right.
Give me slightly more than it costs. You could get anything in that price. So you did have a choice then, but it was limited. It was like, well, what beers have I had, and what beers?
Yeah, but
What
also
beer
when,
would I
when
want?
those limitations are between like, Corona or Natty Ice,
Buttermiller
it's like
or-
Also,
Or-
part of it is
there are-
just the amount. Like, you could get 12 natural ice beers
that's true, yeah.
for, I think it was $7.99 at the local gas station. Whereas you're looking at $11 or $10 for a 6-pack of good beer, and
Or
you
decent beer.
don't share a beer with your friend. Like, that's not what guys do. You
I share my beer with you.
crush beers. You don't like say, "Hey, let me like hand
We've
this
crushed some beer.
Yinling
Sharing
to
beer
you."
used to be a big deal, though, for
What did?
early human history. Like, to share a beer, like, it used to be, like, that whole idea, it still lingers in the, like, let's have a drink after a business deal or
Right.
something, like, is that sharing of a communal
Oh, I
drink.
think
'Cause you used
there's
to
something
share
there,
from the
yeah.
same method.
Actually, that's a cool
in fact,
topic to go into.
Because beer, it was a valuable, like, commodity back in the day. For most of human history, everyone was starving. Just people forget that. So remember that context. A beer is like a great way to ingest water and nutrients in a healthy, sanitary
and feel full,
way,
right?
Yeah.
and feel full and feel happy. And it's just a good idea.
It's cleaner
compared to the
too than a lot of
alternatives.
drinking water.
I think that
Yeah.
you might be
So-
describing an
so-
episode. We want to come up with like something about just like how beer has encouraged humans.
Oh, I've been working on it. This is just a little bit of a teaser.
Oh,
and
nice.
it's the same thing, the idea of breaking bread with someone. Bread, they used to make this type of bread. You would just make shitty bread, basically, that didn't taste good and go stale and be inedible. But if you soak it in water and add yeast, you can make beer with it. So it was a way of, like, you know what I mean, making beer extract.
Right.
Kvass, if you've ever had it, it's like a Russian version, I think, with rye bread that's really good. But yeah, so that whole idea of sharing and breaking bread, sharing beer, they were a very similar commodity. In fact, when I was Googling this shit one night for the episode I'm planning, that's where a companion comes from. Means like to have bread with someone that you would share your bread with. Like,
Really?
like Un Bon Pain, the restaurant people go to.
Oh, compagnon.
Yeah, co-bread yin. Yeah, a co-bread yin that you would share your bread with or share a beer with. So there is something to that. But we'll get
Wow.
more deeper into this in our beer history episode. Which
that sounds
is
cool.
coming.
Yeah.
Beer history episode coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. To a
I'll write
podcast
something up so you
near
guys know a little and can look it up and
Just
be able to talk.
to zoom out on that just a bit. Obviously, we'll get into like the cool details, but like it's such a human thing, and especially for musicians, it's such a sort of, I don't know, like take any concert you play in, if it's like an orchestra, and you get to know a certain group of people over the course of a week. Let's say like 3-4 rehearsals and then a concert, something like that. Maybe even less, but you sort of all kind of like the insect antennae, all like start understanding who rubs together the right way.
Well, it's a very communal vibe, right?
And you just get all these social data
Yeah.
points like the whole time. So like you're just scanning around and you kind of go, "Well, that person seems cool. That person seems like a dick. That's weird. Like, why did they just say that? Or why did they do
Right.
that? Whatever." And then like eventually all the people who are into just going out and having a beer and like interacting with each other on that wavelength, like not in the wavelength of I'm at my business or my job or my gig, but in the wavelength of let me have a beer and like see how you chill. Like all those people seem to find each other in whatever job or context you find yourself in. Like it's like almost like a social signal where you're like, I'm the kind of person who thinks we should go out for a drink and
Yeah, because
chill.
your antennae are raging that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's subtle like data. Maybe it's pheromones. I don't know.
What's a pheromone?
Pheromones are trippy, man. Like like when women are ovulating, like they have pheromones that like trigger your subconscious brain and you don't even realize it.
How do they trigger your subconscious brain?
I'm at the limit of my knowledge, Joe.
How many pheromones do you have on you right now, Luke?
Yeah, how many pheromones does it take to screw in a
And
light
what do
bulb
you
with?
sell them for?
Yeah. But no, but like, what is a pheromone? Is it like
It's
a
a
wavelength?
particle of
like,
smell. I
is
think.
it?
Yeah.
Of smell? A particle of smell?
But like a lot
What
of that,
shape is
a
a
lot of that
particle of
data like
smell?
just interacts with your subconscious brain, and you don't even necessarily know like exactly what, how it's influencing your
Sure, yeah.
behavior from like deep in your consciousness.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, yes, I'm acting this way.
You're like, I had 2 girls who I could go on a date with tonight, and I chose this one. I don't really know why. It just felt right. The reason it felt right is pheromones, maybe.
No, I know why.
pheromones all the way down.
I love how he said maybe at the end. Like, I'm just trying to keep
Yeah.
it
No,
clear
look,
that like,
I
I'm
know
not a
why.
pheromone PhD like candidate.
Yeah.
No, it's because you're an inconsiderate ass and led 2 girls on. That's fine.
That was
then
a
you just
hypothetical
and then you
example.
chose
No,
your
no,
best
no,
option.
but Johnny-
Oh, I know that's a hypothetical.
You're right,
answer.
but that's also because pheromones.
but also pheromones.
Yeah.
I think that's really what pheromones are. It's a way to be like, well, pheromones.
Pheromones.
No, but like I've heard a lot of guys talk about like when their wives get pregnant. There's like a sort of like shift. Like Smarter Every Day did a video on this, where he was talking about his wife, and when she was pregnant, like something just triggered in his brain. Like he went into like a different like sort of version of the operating system almost, And there's something to it. There's something like really trippy about our desires come from like deeper in our consciousness, and they stem from things we can't fully explain, and then those things change in ways we don't even maybe know about. Like, you can't consciously be like, oh, the pheromones have changed on my wife, but something deep in your consciousness says I have to be like extra protective, and like, and even the certain hormones associated with pregnancy like cause just sort of like, he said he got more attracted to his wife more than ever before.
But is that like an evolutionary
like their
thing
face gets
to, like,
more flushed,
protect
like
them or whatever?
I think so. I think it's
Because like the ones who didn't have that reaction were like, oh yeah, let him get eaten by tigers, and then they didn't make more. Oh, we lost Johnny.
that's fine. We're still recording. He'll call back.
Okay. I
Dude,
think he
what
got
if a
eaten by a
nuke
lion.
just went off and like it just
Oh, the blast wave is about to hit us.
yeah. I think he just accidentally hit
I mean, it's entirely possible he
hit hang up.
accidentally did anything. For sure.
so no nuclear bomb. Oh,
He did it. I think he's fucking with us.
do you think?
We're having technical difficulties, ladies and
Not
gentlemen.
really.
I mean, I'm over them.
So that's my take on pheromones, Joe. That's all I know about pheromones.
I mean, I'm convinced on your take on pheromones.
Do you think Gat's gonna call us back?
No, I think he's hammered with at least 6 other people.
Well, actually,
like
we
you
did
said.
that off the air though, right?
Did we?
Yeah, because it was so. We're trying to turn like a big portion of this drunk tank
Proceeds
that we're
go
doing.
to us drinking more.
Can
they hear this?
Actually, no, they can't.
Okay, we're trying to call Johnny. Johnny.
I mean, we can make it so that they do hear it.
but we accept calls from our loyalist listeners.
Well, I think we'll make that more of a thing, but I figured out a way
he's
to
one of
wire
our
into
loyalist
this like
listeners.
old ratty soundboard thing we found.
It's not a ready soundboard thing we have.
Well,
it
last
was
week it was
generously donated by a loyal Patreon subscriber.
That's true. That's very
so
true.
there you go, Luke. That's how you pitch him. What
Uh,
the fuck is this?
all right, you can let.
How's he on my phone?
His internet probably went out or something like that. So basically,
We'll march
I
on.
think the idea of just generally drunk dialing is like a funny
Do you want
thing.
to just call someone now?
Well, who can we call that it's not too late? Because Joe,
let's
tell
just call
the
it- let's
listeners
just-
what time it is right
let's
now
just-
on the East Coast.
Let's just call it. It's late. It's 12:47 a.m.
It's almost 1 a.m.
But let's just call a number.
Any number at all?
Yeah, let's just do it. Fuck it. Let's do it.
Uh,
The question is what area code?
well, I mean,
212. We'll do the city.
I have to be honest, like, ever since a kid, like...
Oh, yeah, I'm Luke. I'm scared to call.
Exactly. I've always been slightly scared
All right,
of
do you wanna
prank
hear a
calls.
funny
You
story?
know why? Because,
No,
like, wired
okay.
deep into my brain is, like, I hate making people uncomfortable.
Okay, so when I was, you want to hear a secret? When I was a little kid, me and my siblings
You
decided.
bang the dead bodies.
Jesus Christ!
Go on.
After we banged the dead bodies, we decided to call Hooked on Phonics because we thought it was just sounded funny. Hooked on Phonics, because we were like, "What the fuck's a phonic?" You know? And so we called them, and I forget what the line was, but Johnny probably remembers this. But there was a line in the commercial. It was like, "Oh, like you want to get hooked on phonics," and we were just like, "Hey, you want to get hooked on phonics?" And they were like, "Is your parent home?" And we just like panicked and hung up, and we were like, "Oh my god, they're going to call 911."
You're
on
like,
us.
that was the most thrilling thing
Yeah,
ever.
they're like, they're going to call the cops on us. It's like, no, don't worry about it.
I've never been the leader on a prank call.
You can
but,
do it now.
I might. I just might. Like, we'll see. If I finish this tall boy of beer, we'll see what happens.
I'll do it for you.
I'll
do
tell
it.
you exactly why it's
I don't give a
hard
fuck,
for me,
I'll do
though.
it.
Like,
Yeah, what is blocking you right now?
it's not like I have an intellectual, like, oh, I shouldn't do this because that when you prank call someone, you just like confuse them and make them feel uncomfortable. it's not
But
like
you're assuming that you do that. You're assuming that call. Like, what if somebody gets a call and they're like, "Oh, this is great. I was sitting at home with a shotgun in my mouth. Like somebody cares."
Okay, so obviously that's possible, but more likely you're just. I mean, if we call somebody on an East Coast area code, we're going to be calling them at 1 a.m. and
Yeah.
they're probably thinking,
They're probably asleep.
Grandpa just died. So and so must have just gotten in an accident.
I wouldn't think my grandpa died if a random number called me at 1 a.m. My grandpa's already dead.
Well, that's a different reason.
A plus B equals C, Luke.
Let me just say,
Haven't
like,
I taught you anything?
when I was younger, I used to.
But that's only that the whole relative dying thing is only if it's a number you know. If it's a random number and you're asleep, you just think it's a wrong number, or you're like, oh great, I have friends. Somebody has a new number and they're calling me. I'm saying we're doing a public service here. We're helping people. I don't know why you're spinning this in a negative light.
If it were 7 p.m., I would be like way more likely to do that.
I totally disagree.
I still might do it, but
I patently disagree.
I remember
with you.
I have two distinct memories popping into my brain from when I was a kid.
Did you and your siblings do prank phone
no,
calls?
No,
and
I was
didn't
with one of my brothers and then like two friends, and we were just making prank calls, and
Nice.
we were sort of talking a little bit, but also we had the aid of these soundboards online. You could go to these websites and they would have like the Al Pacino soundboard, you know?
Yep. I remember that was like the first iteration of like, hey, I can use the internet to really have like real world fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could say, fuck you, you
Yeah.
know, like, hey, I'll buy you a pack of gum, show you how to chew it, you know? And you could say this to the pharmacist at King Cullen. We called the pharmacy at King Cullen like 4 times in a row, and every time he picked up, we just said, hello, who is this? Oh, you know what? Fuck you. I'll buy you a pack of gum, show you how to chew it.
That's Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And what did the pharmacist say?
I think it went fine. No,
But that's my point.
The
It's
point
like-
is, like, I was just sitting on the couch, like, laughing at it.
Yeah.
But the whole time, like, I was as much as I was laughing, I was equally feeling this emotion of just like.
See, I think
I can't do this. It's like
I think you have some trauma, and I think you need to embrace it and address it.
Joe's got that evil
But-
look in his eye.
I got that twinkle that I'm pushing Luke to
that Joe
in my
twinkle
eye.
where he's like, what
Luke,
if you just did this really awful thing so I can watch it?
You need to confront this fear because it is an irrational fear, and I think you need to recontextualize this as we're trying to help people, and anybody who perceives differently can fucking
Is
suck
wrong.
a bag of rusty
Yeah.
dicks.
If anybody doesn't see that this podcast is simply to help folks.
We're here to help. Yeah,
We're here to help
helpers,
folks.
Yeah,
And if you don't see that,
We're
you
not
can
here to
go
ha-
fuck yourself.
we're not even here to help people. We're here to help folks, and fuck you if you don't like that.
So this is a drug tank.
Yeah. So this is what drunk
We just
tanks
wanted
like.
to give a taste to our non-Patreon listeners to just how
Try to draw them in.
give me a adjective, Joe. How
Sad. Oh wait, that's
rambunctious? Give me a synonym for that.
discombobulated.
Discombobulated things can get in drunk tanks.
Superfluous.
Although the soundboard's working great.
Soundboard's been working fantastically.
In the middle of making like 5 drinks and like whatever. Here comes Johnny back.
Maybe Johnny has.
Let's see if Johnny has any input on this.
I feel like we're missing Johnny input severely on this.
You have to hit accept.
I did.
Oh.
It didn't.
Hey
take.
guys.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, I'm back.
All right, Johnny. So
you came just in time. We were about to prank call
A bar in Seattle.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
there's
Well,
Johnny's input.
We knew we needed Johnny input. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
so-
no, I know radio shows stop doing prank calls because it's illegal to record someone without their knowledge.
Well,
That's
here's the
why
thing. Like, here's the
companies go, this call will be recorded for quality assurance. Like, you have to say that at the beginning, and it loses
Oh,
the
I
prank.
see.
well, here's the
It
thing.
loses all prankness when you.
Well,
do
no,
that.
we weren't going to prank them. We were going to call and be like, "Hey, we've never been to Seattle. Like,
You can't record it though.
Yeah. The thing is, we were also going to put it on our podcast that we.
Yeah,
yeah, but we
But
could,
we can just
internet.
do
we
it.
could
to
ask
be children.
we
You
could
wanna
be like,
juvenile.
Johnny, what
prank
would you
calls?
do if you were working at the bar and you got a call and they were like, "Hey, we're from a podcast and we know you're busy and working right now, but we were wondering, is it worth visiting your undisclosed location that I won't say right now because we've never been there?" What would you say?
I probably wouldn't have answered the phone because I'd be busy bartending.
And what if you did answer the phone? You were just like, oh, like let me just answer it for
You'd
whatever.
probably
reason.
be like,
Well,
"Oh,
I
go
worked
fuck
on-
yourselves!" Like I'm in the middle of like trying to get this fucking.
Yeah, like what would you say?
Rack of
Like
dishes
no, what would you
clean.
say if they were legitimately like, oh yeah, we're like a West Coast podcast. We've never been to the East Coast. Like what is like what's the vibe where you are in your city? Like is it worth visiting? Like what would your reaction be? Do you think?
I would be like, yeah, definitely. Why don't you check out our website? And these are our hours, and I gotta go now. Like, I wouldn't be like, yeah, sure, let's talk about your podcast. I'm at work. Like, there's people staring at me, waiting to tell me what beer they want. They don't care.
See, this is why I
The
told.
only acceptable reason to call a bar is to check hours
Yeah, see,
or to see if like an event or
this is what
something
this
is
is what,
happening.
This is
there.
why I was
or if
telling.
they have a beer.
This is what I was
If
telling.
they have something.
This is what I was
Guys
telling
have
Luke. We
daiquiris.
should try numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and see what happens.
You can't prank call anymore. It's like an FCC rule. You can't do it and record it. Like, I think CBS and the big guys got like fined a shitload of money back in the day. You just can't. We'll lose everything.
Mr. Mouse
Podcast will be over.
Mr. Mouse isn't having it.
Oh no, you can't even do that anymore. So it doesn't fall under satire or fair use. I'm pretty sure of that. So you get instantly flagged and ruined.
I mean, maybe on YouTube, but what about the Wild West of the internet, baby? It's a deep
I
dark
think you get in
void.
trouble as soon as you make money on it. Then I think we should just avoid it and just ramble about. I'm back. We can just.
Well,
ramble
we have friends
about
we can
nonsense.
randomly call too.
Yeah, that's fine. Consenting people we can call.
Well,
not
I don't
like
know
this-
if they're consenting, but they are friends.
Yeah,
the-
well, we know them well enough that
For the moment.
probably good.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But anyways, it's good to have you back on the show. We miss
yeah,
you.
my shit computer shit out, and it was like,
It shat
that's
out?
that's not a microphone you're plugging into me, so I had to shut it down a bunch.
Yeah, that checks out actually.
It's working now, so.
Mhm.
So what are you drinking? We still haven't finished. I mean, it's been at least a half hour, and we haven't finished
Do you wanna
our
see what I'm
drink
drinking?
introductions. You drinking Di Serrano?
Big time.
Okay.
I mean, I was drinking beer earlier. I was drinking. The fuck was I drinking? What's that beer? It goes in the glass.
Oh,
It's got a little bit of head. It's pretty cold.
that's like half of them.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty common one. I honestly forgot what I was drinking, but I finished the night with Mustache, which is a local brewery around here.
Oh, that's a
Brewery.
mustache.
Mustache Brewing.
Hey, did you get to see? Did you?
Oh, I had
try
Dale's
the,
Dale's Ale, Dale's Pale Ale.
Oh yeah, Oscar
Yeah.
Blues.
Yeah.
So you know the crowler machines that you see when you go to tasting rooms?
Dude,
and
I'm all about
bars?
crowlers. They make my
I'll
hands
wait
feel
for
so
Luke to get
small.
back in. He took his headphones off.
No,
for a
and
second.
that's
Luke,
why you don't put your fingers tip first into the monkey. Oh, hey, Luke,
and
what's
that's
up?
why
back.
that salad. That's why the chicken salad ended up getting dumped. Anyways,
Yeah.
Luke, welcome
What
back.
what a fucking unnecessary. I mean, necessary, but like unwanted feature of like drinking and podcasting is the whole peeing thing.
Yeah, we should really get those.
man up
What are
and
they?
get a buck.
Colostomy bags?
But I have to say,
That's
like
what it-
for the
you should go
past
through the procedure to get a colostomy bag.
For the past
which I'm
10
pretty
minutes-
Sure doesn't take their urine all
Is
the
that
time.
not how it works?
well, that's where our Patreon money is going to.
Yeah, it's all-
how do you say it?
Colostomy.
Colostomy bags.
Is that what that is?
Oh no, I think that's where they take your colon out, so you have like a bag the poo stores in. So
It doesn't
fall
pee
out of you
too?
like
So
a
it's
horse.
it's the other whole
wait,
bag. There's another bag for the pee.
The other whole bag?
well,
Is
no,
it a diaper? I think
I'm-
it's just a diaper
I'm
at
sure
that
there's
point.
people that can't do either, and they need bags for both. They're probably
You know, the
some type
Japanese.
of humanoid artificial cloaca they make. That just
Joe,
mixes
go on. What were you
everything
gonna say? The Japanese what?
The Japanese the Japanese adult diaper industry generates as much money as the child diaper industry.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
from
that-
episode what?
That was from like
I
a
think it was
beta
from
maybe or
episode.
episode 1 or
Early
2.
It's true though.
Yeah,
It's
I think
true.
even one. Honestly,
You know what a name for
That might have been our
for
first, like, fact or
Japan is
fiction.
in economics.
Yeah.
A term for it is because of that age. Because it's a inverted pyramid age wise. There's so much more old people than young people.
Yeah, shaped like a vagina diaper.
I heard it described by an economist as the velvet coffin. because everything is like super automated and high tech, but there's like no one that's going to be, you know what I mean? There's less people there all the time for how advanced they're getting.
Right, they're just going to become robots. Like eventually, it's going to be mostly
They
service
don't need the
bots.
people then.
Yeah.
It'll just be a few here and there running things.
And then the robots are going to be like, dude, just
Wouldn't
like,
that be how the first robot country like becomes predominantly robot instead of human?
dude,
It's just
maybe.
human
Like, why
birth
not?
rates dying off.
That's how
Them just
Bicentennial Man
replacing us.
happened.
Yeah.
Did you
Is
see
that Robin
movie?
Williams?
So Luke,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
he turns into the
Crowlers?
fucking Tin Man.
We're going off here.
Of course we are. Were we ever on?
The book is way better. The Bicentennial.
Well, it's an
It wasn't.
Asimov book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
I don't
course
think
it
it was
is.
called that. It was called something else.
The 200-year-old man.
No.
Go fuck yourself. I think
it
that
had
was
a
the
really
subtitle.
good name, and I actually cried reading that book. That's how good it was.
I believe
admit
it felt like one of those movies that is like, it's an okay movie. Robin Williams and that Jurassic Park guy are in it, and then like the whole time you're like, dude, the book's probably way better. Kind of like
Like most
Jurassic
movies.
Park.
I mean, can
Yeah.
you think of
based-
off the top of
yeah.
your head any situation where the movie was way better than the book?
Oh, I have a good example because it's the only movie that I've read the book for and also the screenplay. And the movie, I think, is the best one of the three. But
Let's see if we can guess it. Give us a few hints.
so the screenplay and the book are amazing. They're all really good. They're all fantastic. They're like some of my favorite books and screenplays. But the movie, I think, is better in its like as a movie compared to other movies than those are within their respective genres, definitely. Or
Who?
medium
What? Which
forms.
ones?
What?
I mean, you could just tell us.
I missed what you said. Yeah, what movie?
I
we have
kind of want to
guess?
try to guess it too, but
Uh,
is it like can it turn into a game, or is that like
I'm trying to think
easier
of it.
to just say it?
I'm trying to.
James Bond.
No, it's not James Bond, but you better either get busy living or get busy dying.
Jaws.
Oh, he means every Stephen King book.
Jaws. Johnny's actually really close. Wait, how do you not know what movie that is?
Wait, get
No,
busy
I know what
living
that
or
one
get
is.
busy
I just
dying?
made a joke of every Stephen King book.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Shawshank Redemption.
I don't want to. I want to
Oh.
say Andy.
You know what?
Andy
That
fought
movie
off
is particularly
boys.
special. Why is that?
What?
When he
why is
gets-
that movie
when
so
he
good?
gets- He gets raped by the gang members. He goes, "I'd like to say that Andy fought off the so and so's, but he didn't."
Yeah.
And it just cuts away.
Yeah, it's
"Oh,
like
shit, he
Arrested
got
Development goes dark. Like
It makes
well, he
any other
didn't.
time you hear Morgan Freeman like narrating like a science documentary, you're like, oh, he also narrated that prison rape. Like,
Remember
No,
that
that-
time
that
I talked
movie was
about man
amazing.
rape?
yeah,
Yeah,
But
but
the problem with turning most books into movies is you try to condense so much that you
Yeah.
lose a lot in the translation
that-
of the medium.
that
but
movie is actually
That was a short story.
It's
right?
it's a novella. It's like a 100-page
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
So it can take just the idea, the core thing, and build off of that rather than trying
Yeah.
to cram.
You're
you
right.
know, an epic
It wasn't
like tale.
Well, that's
into
actually an
hour.
interesting point because it wasn't like because some movies are like adapted from like short stories and they just wind up being totally different, like Total Recall, and then other like movies are adapted off books and they just wind up being shitty for whatever reasons. But like that Shawshank Redemption, like the novella is really good and it's different and it actually still has more details that the movie doesn't. But that movie just nails it. I mean, that movie, the fact that movie, like it does a lot of the archetypical like movie things, like. There is like a
the evil warden.
yeah, and like
Yeah,
the love story between a man and a woman, but the woman is is Raquel Welch on a poster that he's secretly tunneling behind to like escape from. That's
'Cause
fucking
the
brilliant.
woman is freedom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
I remember the
That's crazy
One of the
shit.
moments that stood out to me from that movie was when they did that work up on the roof.
Oh,
and
they
it
were
was like a whole
tarring
thing,
the roof.
right?
Yeah,
And then they
shared beers
Andy
together.
worked out a way to like
Yeah.
get beer, right?
Yeah,
And then at the end, like Andy was just sitting there enjoying the sun on the roof, and he wasn't having a beer. And one of the other guys like grabs, and these beers looked particularly delicious.
they were like the coldest
They're
looking
prison
beers in
beers,
history. Yeah,
which shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
even if you're like a rich guy in prison, you're not allowed beer. Even if
It's
you,
just
and
not.
these
It's
people-
not part of the dietary.
but this was like Maine in the '60s, and they were like the special crew tar in the roof.
Do you know what they called him in that
Yeah.
in that movie though?
What
A bottle of suds.
bottle
Yeah,
suds?
No,
Yeah.
no, a bucket of suds.
I thought
It's suds. Suds is suds.
suds is the
No,
main
that
point.
was his.
I thought
that
one
was
of
his
them was
deal,
like
though.
taking a sip, like
No, you're right. They are suds.
They are suds either
They're definitely
way.
suds. Yeah.
His deal, he's like, hey, I'll do your taxes for you for a bucket of suds for me and the guys. And it was just like, a bucket of beer because.
But
Yeah,
if
it's
you-
like that's way less than giving like my accountant like 25% of like.
Yeah, that's like what back then in the 30s, like
Gat's
$5.
calling. Gat's calling.
Type it in. Is he on?
Hello.
Get busy gattin' or get
Hey.
busy gattin'?
Oh wait, I have to plug. You in. Give me 1 second.
Is he live? Can he hear us?
Should I be on Skype instead of phone, or should I be on
How's
phone
this,
instead of Skype?
Gat? Can you hear us?
If Gat is really there, then he'll know that we're not more.
Yeah,
than
can you hear
freemen.
me?
Get busy
Yep.
gatting.
I can
or
hear
get
you.
off the phone.
Get
Should
off
I be on
the
Skype
phone.
instead of phone? Should I dial in via Skype?
He sounded better earlier.
Actually, phone would be probably better, just in terms of quality. Like, and I'd have to change some wires, so probably just phone.
Yeah, don't fuck with any wires. I'm good.
Is he eating a sandwich?
Yeah, what are you eating?
What
Gat?
you eating, buddy?
By the
I
way,
mean,
we have our
popcorn.
first call into the podcast.
Popcorn.
First call into the podcast.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Long
for
time
calling in.
listener, long time caller.
You're
First
live.
time getting through.
What would you like to ask the Thunk Tank crew?
It's a great intro for Gat.
Well, I'd like to ask your best recipe for popcorn.
Oh, we got popcorn
I have
recipes for sure. Yeah.
I have some experience with that.
Yeah. No.
All right,
do you have?
Mr. Confident Big Tits over here. Let's see.
Yeah. Do you have cast
Let's see
iron?
what popcorn recipe.
So I put some olive oil in the bottom of a thing.
Yeah.
Pour enough popcorn kernels to just like kind of coat flat, like in a flat surface, coat the bottom of the pan. I let that heat up. I'm like constantly shaking it, mixing it, keeping it close to the heat though. You don't want to like pull it far up
Also,
from the heat
you
when
got
you shake it.
you got to be careful, especially with olive oil, that the heat's not too high because it will burn.
Oh
very
yeah,
easily,
but
yeah.
you don't need the heat that high. You just need
No,
to
you don't.
wait the right
Yeah.
amount of like time.
But if you use like grapeseed oil or something too, like you can.
Canola is
canola.
Like,
I mean,
my
canola
favorite
will work,
oil
yeah.
to use when
Sure, yeah.
I want to.
But
avocado.
Avocado is a high
Avocado oil has a
Avocado's
high point.
a high burn point too, but
So yeah, and I like to let it get real hot and just drop one kernel, and then if that kernel takes longer than 5 seconds to pop,
Oh, really?
10 seconds to pop, then I wait. And so,
Oh, that's interesting.
And you do that a few
That's
times.
so weird because I hear Joe talking, and there's just
Yeah.
a blank space between each sentence.
oh, you can't hear Johnny.
And I'm like, who the fuck is he talking to?
Oh, you can't hear Johnny.
Oh, can you not hear Johnny right now, Gat?
No, I can't hear Johnny. Is Johnny talking? Hey, Johnny.
Joe, you talk about Gat. Go
Okay,
fuck
so
yourself.
Gat, here's what you want to do. You want to get a gallon of oil, and you
There
want
you
to
go.
start talking like this. And once you've done, and once you've done that, you here's what you do when you put the popcorn in.
Probably not now, but like at some point.
Oh wait, does he have video? Oh wait, is that him?
He's in.
I think that's
Hey.
Gat.
I hear chomping.
Here, popcorn. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Whoa.
Wait, does Cat hear Johnny?
What's up?
Can you hear me? You popcorn eating silverfish.
Oh, I can hear you.
Yay!
Okay. I mean,
That's a great fucking microphone you have there.
Oh, you can see me too.
It's like a Bane mask.
Whoa, yes, got you.
So, Gat, we're technically about an hour into the drunk tank, but this is going to be released as a normal episode. So, like, ask us your best question.
Yeah,
you're,
what's your
you're
question?
live on the air. You're streaming to millions of people right now.
Well, I'd like to follow up on that popcorn question. I only got half answer.
Oh, he didn't get Johnny.
So
Johnny.
I wait till it starts. Well, before it starts popping, I salt and pepper it, and then once it starts popping, I'm just constantly shaking, making sure I'm not
Shaking
burning
what?
it. The pot,
Dick.
keeping it close to the flame. Here's my
Next
vibe.
question. Johnny, you go.
No. I got one more
Okay,
detail.
so-
I take the butter
No,
and
look, you're done. Sorry.
I
Next
put
question.
sriracha-
Johnny,
You blew-
done.
I put sriracha in the melted butter, mix it all up, and then put that over the popcorn.
Wow.
That
Wow.
sounds
great.
pretty good, actually.
It's not as good as having the last 10 seconds back, but that was great, Luke. Thanks.
Johnny, how much?
No,
butter?
actually, I like the spicy butter trick. That's good. No, I like to so use avocado oil, Gat, because it's got a real high burning point. And then
Yeah, it's
you
real
wait
high.
till the oil gets real hot by dropping a kernel in every couple of minutes till one pops right away. And then you toss the kernels in a little bit more avocado oil, and then turmeric and smoked paprika and black pepper, and then you throw them all in when the oil's real hot, and then toss it with when it's done, toss it with Parmesan cheese. That's how you make fucking popcorn.
I like that.
Parmesan
Yeah,
cheese,
man.
because it gets
Sounds
that,
good.
that little bit of smart food popcorn vibe.
I
to
call it my savory popcorn.
Yeah, but what is
That's
that?
what
What is that chemical compound that is that powdery?
in smart food popcorn.
Don't you think
Yeah.
you should be?
Oh,
able
it's
to just
alien
buy
cow
that
jizz.
powder?
It's like
It's definitely
That-
alien,
No, look,
recondensed,
that is
three-purpose
where
alien
all
cow
the
jizz.
rhino horns went. That's
Oh
rhino
man,
horn.
did you hear about the rhinos, dude?
I know it's insane.
Dude, you hear
I'm
about
sorry.
human horn? Human horn is the shit. You
Yeah,
really
it's-
want human horn in your popcorn?
it's-
Yeah, no,
human
wait,
horn.
wait, Gat, tell me more about human horn. You
yeah,
got-
you'll be
got nothing?
horn on the
yeah,
face.
known as
you're
the-
streaming live to at least 100 people right now.
It's
Keep that
also
in
known as
mind.
the Rocky Mountain sea cucumber by you, right, Kat?
Yeah, that's what you want to shave off on your popcorn. Rocky Mountain Sea Cucumber.
Well, Gad, I have to be honest. In the history of this radio show, you're so far the worst caller into the podcast.
Gat, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Yeah, he's eating on air. He's not
probably.
standing
Probably snail.
See?
Professor, Professor, we called you specifically to ask you about this important news event.
Yeah,
Why are you eating peanuts drunk, Professor?
what's the weirdest thing you've ever put in your mouth,
You're not in
Gat?
charge of my life. You can't tell me what to do before the podcast.
Gat, what's the
I'll get
strange?
as I went before him.
What's the strangest thing you've ever put into
Your mouth.
Your mouth hole?
Snail.
Snails?
snail.
Like a live
That's
snail?
not true.
That's not
That-
true.
That's absolutely
That's
true.
not
I've
strange
eaten
at
snails
all.
before.
You were what?
That's totally true. I've eaten snails.
Yeah, but were they cooked or you were just like a kid on the playground and you're like, snails?
Both.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't argue
All
with
right,
that.
Kat, what's
I
the
won't
weirdest
argue
thing
with
you've
that.
ever put in your butt?
That's a trick question. Don't answer that, Gad.
That's a trick question.
Yeah, he's trying
I'm
to
not gonna
genie you.
answer
The,
that.
the genie's
He's,
starting
he's
to
literally
seep out.
rubbing his genie mustache.
Yeah, he is. Oh god, and he's got the eyes. He's got the genie eyes. That's not good. That's not good at all.
We can hear
We're
you.
back?
Yeah, you're
Am
back.
I back?
Where's Gat?
Okay.
Is Gat there?
Yeah, lightning round.
Oh, he's dead. He died.
Is Gat gone?
No.
No, I'm here.
Oh wait.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, lightning
Yeah.
round. Go.
So-
You
yeah,
make
when
peanut
we
butter
say-
and jelly. Peanut butter on both pieces of bread, or peanut butter on one, jelly on one. Go.
12 pieces.
Boom. Gat. When you toast your bread, do you flip it or do you just do it once?
I flip it.
Boom. Okay. Gat. Dead babies. For or against them? Go.
4.
Okay. Boom. Go.
Boom.
Boom. Canada or Mexico? Go.
Mexico.
All right. Space or bottom of the ocean?
Bottom of the ocean.
Lose all of your toes or lose 3 fingers?
3 fingers.
Really?
He's good at this, guys.
Yeah, no, he's
you're a
killing it.
terrible caller,
Yeah.
but you're killing it in the lightning.
He
round.
almost answers as if he like studied this set of questioning.
All right. Nothing but beef for a year, or nothing but dandelions for a year.
Beef.
All right. Would you rather be a shellfish for a year or allergic to shellfish for the rest of your life?
Am I aware as a shellfish?
Yeah.
Like with human awareness?
Well, you're you still, but
This is a lightning
you
round.
have the impulses of a shellfish. So you're not like, hey, I want a cheeseburger. You're like, oh man, this whatever shellfish eat tastes great.
Well, I
You know?
remember this after a year.
Yeah.
Shellfish.
Boom.
Boom. Okay.
So you think it would be a net positive experience to be a shellfish for a year?
Would you rather be a
I
chess
don't want to die
grandmaster?
from shrimp. That sounds terrible.
Would you rather be a chess grandmaster but you're blind, or you're a wealthy man but you have a long history of domestic abuse? Go.
Oh, domestic abuse for sure.
All right, guys. Gat's answered most of my questions.
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
I think
did
I
you
think
have-
I'm gonna give Gat a.
Yeah, well, how would you
a-
score him?
What's his
I'm
grade?
gonna give
Yeah.
him a 6 out of 6. on the
Wow.
lightning.
Nice.
Even though that's not how many questions.
I was gonna
asked,
say that wasn't the
it's how
number.
we score the lightning round is out of a scale of 1 to 6.
I
Or
like
0.
that. That's
Gat,
a
you
solid
got a
rating
solid
system.
6. Well done, buddy.
Yeah,
I feel
I
funny.
Good job, bud.
I think he did well. I'm very pleased with how that lightning
All right,
round
who
went.
else has questions for Gat?
So, what do you think happens when you die, Gat?
Wait, Gat, where do you go when you die?
All right, answer either one of those.
Or Gat?
Ask him a third one. He can decide.
What's the third one?
What flavor would you describe as the purple Dynatap being?
All right, you got to answer.
What?
You got to answer one of them, Gat.
All right.
Purple Dynatap.
Stop obfuscating, Gat.
What?
I'd say grape, just because purple I associate with grape. Also, where you go when you die, I imagine.
You can't
Nothing.
imagine you're dead.
So
Do
where
you think
went
it's like anesthesia, where it's just like 97, 90, and then it's just blank, nothingness, pure nothingness.
Or it's just infinity. It's just like the dream, whatever dream you're having before you die. Like if you're asleep, it's just that forever.
Oh, you're just kind of
And-
tripping in that ether or whatever.
You're just in that 3 seconds, like that 3 seconds before you die, or whatever. That 3 seconds that you're conscious. That's what your whole existence is.
Oh, should
So
I?
when the
that
DMT
forever.
releases into your brain at death, you're saying that
Yeah.
4 minutes or
Exactly.
whatever is
Have you ever-
actually
have you ever
40 billion trillion eons of happening?
Have you ever done like DMT before?
No, I'm a law-abiding citizzen. You
Because it-
pinko
us
commie
too.
hippie bastard.
Okay. Well,
Shit.
I'm not. So
I go to work, I drink beer, I repress emotions, I eat processed food. I'm an American, Gat.
That's
Okay.
the way to go. I don't know what country I'm from.
I work too hard. I pay too much in taxes. I'm uneducated.
Yeah,
I'm
you should
angry.
keep your head down. You should leave Colorado. That's a bad place to be. That's just going to get you thinking all the wrong thoughts.
And Luke would like to
That's-
announce his candidacy.
right.
Come
I
back,
really should-
subscribe.
I resent the southern accent used whenever we start turning into ridiculous characters because I know a lot.
Who
of
said I was
reasonable
being
Southern
ridiculous character?
That's
What are
pretty.
you
Yeah.
talking about?
What? Do you, yeah.
What
What
was
is
that,
that?
Gat?
Yeah, Gat. What accent was that?
Popcorn.
Gat. What?
people.
What
Can you give us
region
our
is that?
best? Can you give me your best Colorado crazy old prospector guy? Because you must have heard some Coloradan accents by now, right? Do they have one?
How you doing today?
That's
What?
the accent.
Welcome to the Rockies.
You sound like
Enjoy
you,
your stay.
you sound like you need an oil change.
You sound like your batteries
They talk
are slowly dying.
They talk like they've been in the sun too long
I don't like
and
it.
in the mountains for way too long as well. And not really southern, but kind of mountainy, very, very slow.
Oh, I
That's
see.
much how they talk.
Slow and mountainy.
I didn't catch that particular slowness.
No, there's definitely a slowness. It's like
Oh, there's a slowness. It's just that everyone out here is from the East Coast.
that's funny.
Were you in the mountains, Luke, or were you in a city when you were there?
Well, I was in Denver, but then we also went to Rocky Mountain, and then we stopped off in
You went
Boulder.
to Rocky
But that's-
Mountain.
But
The
that's
fact
true.
that you called it Rocky Mountain makes me
Rocky
think
Mountain
you were
National
never...
Park. I
No.
wanted to
Oh.
save words to save time, but now I've wasted.
Yeah,
even more
I
time.
went to
You fucking
California
idiot.
and I went to Pacific Ocean. It's like, what? No, you didn't. You were never there. You saw it on a map.
Yeah, like if you go there and it's like, yeah, I went there and I was with Gat all week and like he didn't have a southern accent. It was weird. It's like, well, yeah, he's from here.
Speaking of Colorado, though, Gat, I still look at those pictures like all the time and just remind myself of the epicness of mountains and all that shit.
Yeah.
Joe's about to go to Colorado
Oh,
in a
I
few
can't
days.
wait. I'm so excited.
Gat, sell the listeners on the difference between being on the East Coast and being in Colorado.
Honestly, I'd rather not because I
You don't want to blow up the spot.
Totally.
Oh, that's why I tell
Carpet
people
bag
about
is
the
out,
beach
right?
by me. I'm like, oh, it sucks.
That's a clever way to say you're like, oh, I really don't want to blow up the spot, but by
Yeah.
saying this, I'm gonna blow up the spot.
That's like even.
I'd rather just not describe. Well, you know what? I mean,
Everywhere's
if
blown
you
up
live in
already.
Denver,
Every
it's
spot
really
is already...
fucking flat. But I don't know. If you want to see some cool shit, you got to work at it because it's hard to get to. You know what I mean? People move here because of the legal weed or whatever. But if going outdoors and hiking 8 miles into the mountains is not your thing, then you're not gonna have a good time.
Sure.
There you go.
Otherwise, it's just another random city, right?
It's just a random fucking city. They built
But
it
with
because
free
they
legal.
saw the mountains and fuck it, I can't go through that, so we may as well build our fucking post office here.
Yeah, it's like
So-
I
Fuck
definitely don't
that.
want to build a
Fucking
post
started.
office up in there.
I walked all the way here from fucking Missouri. I'm not going over that shit.
It's
I'll be
Missouri.
here if you ever come back.
Missouri.
All right?
Missouri. Missouri.
From Missouri.
So did you guys hear about that star that they
Missouri.
announced they found?
Oh yeah, the Chinese space station.
Yeah, it's called the Sun.
No, they found a
Anyway.
star named Icarus. It's the farthest
It was already named.
star
Icarus.
that they've
it
ever
had a
discovered. Well, I mean, they named it, but it also has one of those like M8, like 7534, blah 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 kind of name.
Icarus was a guy, though. Why would they name a star after a guy that flew towards the star? I get it.
I don't know how the naming thing went down. But
Look,
here's
how about you come to us with a complete story then, huh?
There's a lot of holes here
I mean, come on.
already.
Here's
Yeah,
the
there's
part
a
that
little
that grabbed my attention. The reason they found this particular star is they were studying a supernova, I think, that was around 5 million light years away, and they happened to see this light from this distant star. Now we know galaxies exist like super far away, but we've never been able to pick out individual points of light from such a distant galaxy. Now we're talking like 10 million light years away, you know? Our own galaxy is only 100,000 light years across. And still that would take hundreds of thousands of years to get across at the speed of light, and we don't travel anywhere close to that. Like, the size of this is just
Astronomical.
astronomical. You can't even begin to understand it.
Whoa.
But here's the trippy part. The galaxies in between this star and the Hubble telescope, which is in orbit around Earth, this star would otherwise be too dim to see, but there's something called gravitational lensing, where the gravitational pull of this galaxy sort of focused the light like a magnifying glass and made it way brighter than it otherwise would be, so that when it hit the Hubble telescope, it looked like a pretty defined point of light.
Oh, so is it almost like it keeps that light from like scattering more
Exactly.
than it would? Yeah,
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Like
So
a magnifying
how do
glass.
we-
That's crazy.
How do we figure out how to find those spots where the gravity's like that?
Well, so like they can notice, for I guess probably from different angles, but you know, obviously I don't know too much of the details. I know the idea is that gravity in this Einstein model of general relativity says that.
Genital?
No,
You
go
totally
on.
said genital.
I mean, I don't know what I said.
No, you did, and that's
said
a
what you
theory.
said.
I know
We're
the porn
copyrighted,
I'm gonna
right?
make one day, which is gonna be like genital theory of relativity or something, you know. And then like you have a clear part 2, like special genital theory of.
What is different about
Those are
part
wet
two?
But I
porn.
meant to say general relativity. And the point is that gravity, massive objects actually bend space-time, and so light always travels in a straight path, but it's traveling in a straight path through the bent space-time. So for the
Right.
photons of light, you know, first off, time doesn't exist because they're traveling at the speed of light. So they leave this star, and 8 fucking million years later, they hit the Hubble Space Telescope. To them, no time went by
So-
because
But
time doesn't exist at the speed of
They
light.
don't know that they are them.
Well, I mean,
So-
they're photons, and who knows what the fuck they are anyways. But the point is, they travel straight always, but it's space-time, the fabric of space-time that actually bends. Like if you put a bowling ball on a bed, how the sheet would bend inward. Like that's
Yeah,
what happens
that's
to
what-
this
that's what
3D
curves it, yeah.
fabric of space-time, and the light travels, I guess, straight through that.
Yeah, through whatever
So
that
what you're
curve
saying,
is.
Luke, is E equals BDSM, right?
There's definitely some BDSM involved in,
Like heavy,
in all
yeah.
of this.
When
yeah.
it comes to physics.
Yeah, heavy and hard.
Probably.
Or like,
Yeah.
fuck 6, right, guys?
So I don't know what to do. Like I read that this morning. I was like, I had a coffee pretty late, like 2 p.m. and I read this shit about like a star 9 million whatever it was light years away. I don't know how to fucking integrate that into my day, you know?
Do you really have to, though? You know, it's not like being like, oh, pollen counts up. It doesn't actually affect you, you know? There's so much more important information. Can't you just shut that off and be a good little worker
I
bee?
definitely can. Like I get by, but like, you know, you're at the bank and you're like walking into the bank and then you're like, yeah, but what? You know?
think thinking about that shit helps put things in perspective. At least for me, it's kind of beautiful knowing that all of this stuff's going on in the universe, and anything that we do on Earth really doesn't matter. But that's what makes it so significant. Like in the grand scheme of things, nothing matters.
Oh, Scat, I think you're talking about
Like-
optimistic nihilism, or nihilistic optimism. I think I was reading about it, and I think that's where I kind of fall on things. It's like, oh, since it's all meaningless, that kind of makes it special, right?
It does, because like if it's all meaningless and there's no afterlife, then the best possible thing that you can do is to make life that you have and that everybody else has as beautiful. or as
Although
good.
I
What
would.
that also means, Gat, is that you picking that to be what it's about, you can't be wrong because there is no answer because it means nothing. So you picking that, you're automatically right because you can't, or at least you can't be wrong even if you aren't right.
Is he
Right?
right? I think he's right.
Well,
I
wait,
think this beer's kicking in. I'm drinking very high gravity beer tonight.
Yeah, so am I. I'm drinking. It's like a 10%.
I might just make a distinguishing between meaning and purpose. I think it's fair to say that life doesn't have a purpose. Like,
Why is that fair to say? So you're saying,
does the universe have a purpose? Does life have a purpose? It's like, well, again, it comes down to definitions at the end of the day. But my 2 cents would be, to have a purpose, you need a purposer, someone like inducing that purpose, and then so you're already
like God or Elon Musk?
you're already making a god type figure. And I think it's perfectly
repeat
fair to
yourself,
say
Joe.
that, like, you can
Fair enough.
describe exactly what being alive is without needing that purposer behind it, the first cause kind of thing. Things can just
I'd say
emerge.
Rewrite that comic book, guys. I think we've come up with someone who doesn't exist yet. Comic book wise, the purposer.
What does he do? What's his
He
superpower?
gives people
He just
I would
birds
read it.
universes and like fucks with them.
Well, he just gives people menial tasks, and that's your purpose.
To give them meaning in life.
It's the most boring,
Or
most
like
boring
somebody-
comic book character
Somebody's at the DMV and they're reading a thing and they're like, why do I have to check this box, like, about their voting, if they vote or not? And you just break in through a wall and be like, it's the easiest way to collect the data interdepartmentally. And then it just walks out and is like, oh, thanks, guy, for
Yeah,
defining
be like,
the purpose
why
of
was that guy dressed as the Kool-Aid Man? Like,
Yeah, I
what the
guess I
fuck?
know the purpose now, but we have
Yeah.
severe structural damage.
Yeah,
so-
and also
thanks.
slight trauma.
Oh, definitely some trauma.
Yeah, slight emotional
That-
trauma.
He killed 3 people with flying cinder blocks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with his Kool-Aid fucking gut.
Honestly, I think the whole, like, the state of the world we find ourselves in, this like 2018 vibe, has a lot to do with the word nihilism, has a lot to do with the word meaning and purpose, like those kinds of words. I think there's just a very confused. Life's been too easy for too long for too many people, and there's a confused sense of like, what are we doing here?
Well, I think the easiness has shifted. It's like, it's easy now in the sense that, like, a lot of people in Western culture, like, they're not necessarily worried about starvation, right? Whereas, like, a lot of
The
history,
artificial system
yeah,
it's easier than the natural system, but now the artificial system is getting harder.
well, like,
to
it's
compete.
hardwired in people's brains for sure, like, evolutionarily. Like, if you don't, like, there was no food storage really for a lot of human history, and it's like, yeah, if, like, the hunter people don't come back with, like, a big giraffe that they killed, like, tribe might starve. Like, people aren't gonna have enough food to eat. It's just
That's
how
why
it's
we
gonna happen.
invented beer.
But that's also why,
Congrats.
like, we hoard shit and we're like sugar addicts and shit because, like, and salt addicts and carb addicts because we have that
and
stuff.
sex addicts.
Sure, we have it in excess now, and
Blackjack and cocaine.
and hookers. I'll start my own moon hotel
Versus,
with
like,
blackjack
society.
and hookers. Can we play
Yeah,
that
it's
clip?
going, Joe.
We can. You just
Oh,
have
we
to
need
tell
to
me
have
what
that
it
clip
is.
ready.
Oh fuck! Cue it up.
It's
It's,
yeah,
it's Futurama, Bender, blackjack, and hookers.
yeah. If you
just
type that, you'll
Type all
find
that.
We've
Anyway.
progressed as like a species, but we haven't progressed as like a society. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man.
Like, as
Yeah,
a species,
dude, it's
we-
like we're still just eating rocks.
No, but seriously, like we like as a species, we have everything that anything on Earth would want, right? We have pretty much
Porn
unlimited access to food.
and porn.
And and we can distribute it. We have the potential to distribute it among every single person. We just don't do that.
Well, we don't have unlimited access to
Theoretically,
food.
we have more food than we need right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So as a
Do we?
species, we have it made.
I'm pretty sure
As a
I'm pretty sure we
species.
don't have enough food.
No, so much food gets thrown out.
No,
Like,
but
we
I'm
have
pretty sure
so
if you
much food.
I'm pretty sure if
Yeah,
you
I think just biomass wise, like
No.
of just leftovers that get thrown out in the West can
Yeah.
feed everybody.
No, yeah, we have so much food. We just don't know.
No.
Like our society is just kind of
Fake news.
fucked up. We
I see what you're saying,
don't know
but
how to like distribute that food properly.
you're right. The distribution system is based on like crazy systems that are like it benefits a lot of people in different ways, right? And like that's how you look at like Western culture and like capitalism, and it makes sense. That's how you incentivize people to start businesses and conglomerates and like all this other shit in like mass food industries. And yeah, that may lead to some innovation, but also the whole system cumulatively, it leads to like 40% of our food being thrown out and never eaten, which is an
exactly.
insane amount of
Like, a
food.
large percentage
Because
of
it's more
people
profitable
starving
that way.
Yeah.
Because of that, it's very true.
Right.
So like I said, it's we as a species we have what every other species on the planet wants.
One
But-
one
Like,
interesting
Society, we have so much room for improvement.
one interesting
with-
statistic
Yeah.
about like this world of data is worldwide inequality has actually decreased, but within each individual country is where the problem is.
Yeah.
Inequality increases within a country, but worldwide it's actually decreased.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like the standard of it's like when you talk about violence, right? Like we live in a way less violent society than any other society that's ever existed. But when you look at the microcosm of different countries or different cities, it can look at like the most violent place on earth. You know what I mean?
Now I hear
Well,
it.
that just has to do with concentration. There's more people in slavery now than there ever was in the slave trade, but it's just because there's way more people on the planet. Even though slavery is technically outlawed in every country,
Well,
there's
yeah,
enough
when you look at,
private
ratios,
slavery.
It's different. If you're going by raw numbers, it might be more.
That's
But like,
But that's
you
what I'm saying. That's why you go
ratio
places. There's entire neighborhoods where it's the fuck, But then it's because there's entire countries where people are fed and fine. It still is a small percentage.
yeah.
We kind of talked
But
about that
it's
in
just
the
a
last
huge mass
episode
of
on
people who
politics.
suffer.
Just there just has to be some suffering in the world. I don't think there's any way to well,
Did you ever read,
All right,
Did you
just
ever
get
read
too
the
serious.
one
Yeah,
Proclamation
kill
of
all
Evil?
fish or pay 20% more in taxes. Go. What were you saying, Dan? I'm sorry.
Wait, no, I want to hear his answer to that.
What was the question?
Oh, we lost Johnny. It's almost like we were there.
I was there, and it was insane.
Well, tell them the story about how you made $2,400 an hour.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Wait, what?
Luke
I had
got
a
in
crazy
deep and
gig on
dirty.
Sunday.
Very beautiful. Then we'd walk through the forest at night.
See, like
Either-
that.
Oh wow, wow, that sounds like a crazy.
That's how you make.
Luke,
That's how
please
you
go
make
on.
$2,400 an hour.
This is like a floor sex thing.
This is the drunk tank, folks. You signed
Oh,
up
God.
for it.
How much of this is actually going to make it on the episode?
I don't plan on editing it. I don't have time
Oh
for that shit.
God, I don't think anybody's going to listen this far in though. That's the problem.
No, we got him.
You think our Swedish listeners will listen? I would
Oh,
like. So I would like to thank a few new groups of listeners. We now have listeners on all continents except for a couple,
I think except for
It's-
Antarctica.
and Africa.
Probably Russian bots.
We
Probably being infiltrated.
We do have one Russian download. We now have South Korean downloads. Still waiting on North Korea to hear back from them.
What do you mean?
Um,
get
Yo,
back from there?
jump.
I sent
Come
out
on.
overtures.
Come on,
What?
bro.
I tweeted at North Korea and I didn't hear back. No Antarctica, no Africa either. 0 African downloads.
Africa's a big country.
It's a huge country, but it's an even bigger continent, which is why it's so disappointing that we have no downloads. So I would like to.
It could just be an internet access thing too.
So you're saying what exactly, Luke?
I'm saying talking to your microphone, otherwise your voice doesn't come over the recording.
Touche. And in that case, I would like to tell Elon Musk to please tweet at his friends in South Africa to get us some listeners because.
So, Johnny, let me tell
That's
you
a
how
sentence.
I made.
If we got Elon Musk to listen to us for a second, you would fucking waste that opportunity by like trying to pander
Yeah, why not?
to
For
his
1 second,
personal contacts.
he's going to listen to us for 1
Just
second.
to up an audience in one country. When we don't have an audience, it's not like we have a huge one here. We're trying to break in there. We don't have any audience.
Well,
Like,
not with that attitude.
But you get his access. That's like, you see Jerry Seinfeld, and you're like, oh, can you grab me a cup of coffee while you're in there? Like, it's your chance to
He's
interact
like, I'm
with him.
Seinfeld.
You don't know that
What do
Elon.
You...
You don't know that Elon
wasted
Musk
on
hasn't
that
listened to
crazy
the podcast.
What?
I am pretty sure he hasn't.
All right, let me ask you this: which are you more sure of, Luke? That Elon Musk hasn't listened to our podcast, or that the Earth is not flat?
Earth is not flat.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, he, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be like, hey, we're dumb, but we're like eager. Let us ask you questions because that's what dumb people who like you would probably think. Like something like that to try to actually, you know what I mean? That we'd have a chance at.
Well, yeah, with
But,
people that just get.
Can you tweet at your South Africa friends for us? Like that's what the
We're
fuck.
pretty drunk.
I think
Yeah,
he would hit the
that-
button in his pocket that tells his head of security, like, come find me. Like, I got a
Could you
weirdo.
imagine if we prank
Joe,
phone
your
called and
one
got Elon
chance
Musk?
But never mind.
So Johnny,
play the clip, Luke.
I
Just
made
play the clip.
what would have been $2,400 in 1 hour, except it was only in a 2-minute gig.
Who's
I
paying $2,400 for 1 hour of work, and how many
well, I mean,
holes?
I
do you have
just
to
I
take?
just sort of like extrapolated.
That's a good question, Johnny.
The gig to like pretend like what if we played for an hour, but I went for my normal Easter church gig, and then I had gotten just basically like a text that said, "Hey, can you do a gig at 1:30 on Sunday?" And I said, "Actually, yeah, I can. Like my other thing ends at 12:30. I think I can make it." I was given an address. I start driving to this address. Halfway there, I'm told, don't go directly to the address. Pull off on this side street. So I thought, this
He thought he was about
organization
to have to
that
get
I got
dirty.
hired for was something that usually plays like parade type gigs or things at firehouses, that kind of vibe. So I just thought like this is some kind of parade and we're gonna park here and
world.
walk to the starting point. I don't fucking know.
Luke's about the spread for this one.
I get there and it's just 3 other people. So I'm the 4th guy and that's it. And I say, "So what are we doing here today? Like what's the gig?" And they all say, I don't really know. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we're just in this neighborhood. Like, what are we doing? And then the other guy says, well, I guess we're supposed to go to this house at 1:45 and then play this. And he hands me a sheet of music, and it was, The Boys Are Back in Town. And I look at it, I'm like, all right, well, I've got one of those marching things. I'll clip this to my trumpet.
Like Tin Lizzy,
But
or
yeah.
Thin Lizzy.
Or as a
There it
neighbor
is.
came out where we were standing, he's like, "What are you guys doing?" Blah blah blah, and then eventually we were like,
he just starts
Well,
talking.
you thought
to
you were gangsters with weapons in your
he
instrument
was
cases. It's like,
uncomfortable
no,
with
we
our
have
presence on
instruments.
his property. But then he said,
Those shifty musicians hanging out on the corner,
"Yeah,
singing their jazz
In their
tunes
suits and
smoking
ties.
their marijuana cigarettes.
yeah." Meanwhile, I think he was smoking marijuana. He came over and he was just making no
She's
sense.
super paranoid,
And then
yeah.
he's like, "Well, what are you playing?" And we're like, I guess we're playing The Boys Are Back in Town." And he goes, "Oh, Don Henley." And we're like, "No." So it was
We'll
when
get
this,
off your property now.
it was when this guy interacted with us that I first thought to myself, it's not an Easter gig, it's an April Fool's gig. Because I thought we were being April Fools by this gigging company. Like, haha, like,
No, why would they do that to employees? That's so shitty.
I mean, it seemed
It's
shitty,
so
but like, I
shitty.
just thought it for a second.
So then what was it? It wasn't that though.
So 1:45 rolls around, we walk up to this house, and I'm
What
like,
if that's how Easter started? It was just, Jesus was he brought food into the cave for like a week, and he was only in there 3
And he
days. And
played
they opened it.
The
He
Boys
came
Are
out and was
Back
like,
in Town?
April Fools,
The
I'm still
boys are
alive.
back in town. That's the best part.
So we just walk into this house because those were the instructions.
Just walk in, ready
then
to play. The boys are back in
We get in the
town.
living room and these people come out and we just start playing like "Ba-gow, ba-gow, ba-gow, ba-da-da-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da." And then like these people come up from the downstairs and they just start like dancing in the kitchen and we're like, what the fuck is going on?
They didn't come outside, or you were in the house?
No, we were in the house.
They just went in the house.
Okay, and that was it. And they just danced around in the kitchen.
We finished and then we were like, yeah, and they all shook our hands. They're like, woohoo. And then we're like, so who's back in town? Like, what's going on, fellas? And they're like, what? Like, they didn't know our question. And then eventually it got figured out, like, this is an April Fool's prank. They pull it on their group of friends every year where they spend an exorbitant amount of money, in this case $500, for the 2 minutes to have, like, a brass band play in your house, you know? It's like, one, fuck that in terms of like.
Who spent the money? One of them, or
it was a
all of them?
couple. This
I just don't get
fiance
it.
pranked the group of friends, and she pulled $500 out of her purse in cash and gave
Was
it
she
to us.
there?
She was there too. Yeah, it's like a tradition. They do it every year.
So they get somebody takes turns and one gets one of them. I don't know. That always
Last year
ends
they sent a
badly.
mariachi band to their friend's
Separate
apartment in the city. I guess that kind of thing.
Oh, so it's always sending a traveling band.
Yeah.
So so you're saying the amount of money you made in 2 minutes, if it had been an hour, it would have
Yeah,
been
we were leaving the
$2,400?
house. I was like, "Hey guys, we should start a business. This is a great model. Like, if we get 3 of these a day,
Yeah, you'll be loaded. Yeah.
we're set."
So how much did you get for it? $100?
120.
120? Yeah, that's not bad for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Maybe like 15 total, right?
2,400.
I gotta say
an
the
hour.
buildup was a little bit like I wish I knew what I was going into.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was gonna be an old guy sitting on the couch like, and this is his favorite song, and he's on his deathbed or. I thought it was gonna be something dark and like
Yeah.
whatever, but it turned out to just be like the most low key like cool.
What if you went and it
gig
was
ever.
like these guys who got deported for like horrible crimes were back in town and they just like all tatted up like some like either
We actually did come up with a safe word as a group
like
because we
some
didn't know what to
Russian
expect.
gangsters.
Wait, what was the
fucking
safe word?
Pineapple.
eyelid tattoos and prison tats.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
shit.
mean. Like, what
And
level
it
of
was like, yeah, and they start like cutting up live snakes and drinking shit. Hour. And if you stop, they give you a look that lets you know why the fuck did you stop. You
Well, wait,
better
yeah,
start
did they-
again before I say so? And you get the 2,400, but you have to play the whole hour.
Yeah, did they
nonstop.
book
Would
you
you
for an
take that
hour?
gig, Luke?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, as 4 people, it's just not actually possible, you know? It would, like, be asking someone to run for 4 days straight or something, you know?
Oh, it's just not physically
I
possible.
mean, your lip would just fall off.
You couldn't play for an hour.
I mean, if
straight?
it were, like, guitar,
Okay.
piano, like, those kinds of
Right,
instruments,
right.
it's possible, but not,
Right.
like, blowing your fleshy lip into a piece of metal.
Can you say that a little slower and a little lower register?
Playing the trumpet is basically blowing your fleshy lip into a piece of metal plumbing.
Yeah, never mind. I changed my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that checks out.
I'll use that for my audiobook one day. That's going to be the intro.
You are almost at Morgan Freeman level of low.
Let's give a little teaser to the in any movie.
Or there's another famous one, Troll 2.
Yeah.
Troll 2 is
Howard the
famously
Duck.
bad. Yeah, I've seen
Seen-
that one.
Seeing Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck, yeah, that one's bad as well.
So we're
Morgan Freeman, a duck. Who else do you need to know about? You're in, right? It should be great.
Yeah, it
does
checks
Morgan
out.
Freeman play the duck, or is there Morgan Freeman and then a
You
duck?
wish. Yeah, no, he's separate from Duck.
Oh, it's like a spiritual thing.
That's a great sentence.
Wait, Duck is a voice actor?
Howard is the duck. That's why they named it Howard the Duck.
Humongous.
You remember that movie, that TV show, Cousin Skeeter? Where it
No.
was a kids show in the 90s where it was like a sitcom about like like a black family with some kids like going to school and like kids things, but
Yeah,
or it
Urkel.
wasn't Skeeter. Fuck, Skeeter.
No,
was from
Skeeter's
Doug.
the guy from Doug.
Yeah, I know. What was it? It was Cousin something like that, and he was a puppet though. Remember?
What are you talking about?
Speaking of puppets, Gat, are you for or
The guy
against
knows.
puppets?
Yeah, Gat.
I'm against.
Wait, no. For or against. I don't consort with those of the puppet race. No, I'm just kidding. I love Muppets. just not those puppets.
And he's going to the
Uh,
puppet theater tomorrow.
It was cousin something. Can someone look it up? My phone is holding.
Oh, my
a
cousin
microphone.
Vinny.
No, it was.
Is that not the
like
puppet
all
movie you're thinking?
humans on this sitcom. It was a live action sitcom.
Wait, it was
Wow.
called
Are you
Cousin
talking about Alf?
Puppets.
And then it was like a black elf kind of, but he was a kid instead of a
I'm
late
really
show host
I'm
or
really
whatever.
worried about googling Cousin Puppets.
Nickelodeon cousin.
Oh wait, it comes up on Nickelodeon. Oh my God, you're right.
What was it
Oh,
called?
Cousin Skeeter.
Was it Cousin Skeeter?
I guess you were
Oh my
totally
God,
right.
he is
yeah.
a black Muppet.
Oh wow.
Was it Cousin Skeeter?
Yeah, it is. It's like the Muppet, the puppet from
Right?
Arrested
And-
Development that Job has.
And so yeah,
Franklin.
and
Franklin,
they had,
yeah.
and they had like normal sitcom-y episodes, like I failed a test, I can't tell my parents, you know, I
But he was
told
just a
lie
puppet?
or whatever, you know, like those kind of
my
things.
God.
But he's a fucking puppet, and they never address it. They're never like they're like, oh, you're part of this family. It's like, what? No, he's a fucking puppet. Like,
Yeah, look at this family.
there's no other.
And so like
puppets.
clearly
It's not
like the
there's
whole
other
show was
puppets in
based
this
around him having a hand up his ass and like he's not real.
It really took you out of it. Exactly.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
then
I
like they
remember
were all
Cousin
pretending like
I
it's real.
loved that show though.
It's about mental illness then, really.
It was so weird. It was great, but I just remember the whole time, even
Sure.
as a kid, being like, "Yeah, what the fuck?" Like, it'd be one thing if there were other puppets, but it's like the same thing as having a sitcom with like one black guy and nobody else, or pick a thing. It's like, why would you make one puppet? Like, why not have a whole bunch of puppets?
Or at least two.
Or yeah, another one somewhere. But it was like he dated like you know what I mean? He was interested in the human girl, and she was interested in him. It's like, wait, but he's a puppet.
Wait, did puppets ever come up in the show? Like, was there ever an episode where
think
it's
so.
like he came across a puppet in like class or something? Like,
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like having one dog in this whole world. Have a movie with all these cities and peoples, but there's only one dog ever.
Was the
Everyone's
puppet the
like-
only black guy?
And what?
no, his whole
No,
family was
no.
black.
Yeah, his family. Yeah, yeah. That would have been weird if they made him like purple and a black family. It's like, what the fuck? Why can't he be black? But no, they went for it. I don't know. I just remember that show being really weird.
Yeah, no, it checks out. I mean, pretty
I'm just
thoroughly.
glad I didn't imagine that. It's not insanity.
I know what you mean, Johnny, when you think to like weird, trippy shit from your childhood like that, you're like, oh wait,
Sometimes
I could have
it's not a
dreamed the
thing.
entire thing up. Like,
Sometimes you do.
I mean, like, well, the whole memory thing is really trippy, and like sometimes like you have one built in your brain and it's totally off, and then sometimes
Would you
it's
rather
totally true.
photographic memory or 700 grand right now? Go,
Photographic memory or 700 grand.
Luke. Okay, Gat. 400 grand or photographic memory?
400 grand.
Boom, Joe.
Same question.
47 grand or photographic memory?
47,
Damn, Joe.
47 memories. Go.
Boom. Okay. I, on the other hand, I'll take 200.
200 what?
200 what? Galaxy dollars?
Yeah. What is it? Space cash?
Schmeckles.
Schmeckles.
Space bucks.
Space cash. Isn't that what they use in space?
So, Joe, didn't you have one more story to tell
Was it? Oh,
before?
that's right. So in the beginning,
Oh,
Bam.
shit. Fuck
bam,
them.
bam.
I had to
Bam.
call it. You know, it's getting late.
Oh
And-
shit! It is. It's 2:30.
It's time for me to go home anyways, and
We should call that bar in Seattle.
you know how like when
They're
like
still
a
open.
regular episode ends, it's like, oh, it's time for a drunk tank.
Yeah.
There's a feeling at the end of a drunk tank where it's like, all right, my brain's starting to get sleepy, you know?
They're not happy right now.
They'll work it out. Any last words for our drunk tank listeners?
I wanted to ask Gat something, but we hung up on him.
I mean, you'll see him.
That's true.
Like you can
so-
always ask him. I suppose if you're still listening, thanks a bunch.
Yeah.
This is sort of the sample of like our sillier, goofier, drunker.
Also, I would say
Full
that the drunk
disclosure.
tanks aren't usually this long, but I don't know how much of this actually recorded because Johnny dropped out, and didn't we have technical problems?
The whole thing was recording the whole time. The GAT calling in thing, we'll have to figure out how to edit that in.
Yeah.
It would have worked better if the phone thing was working, but
Yeah.
I kind of only half know what I'm doing here. Last
There's a
episode,
lot of
it was a
wires.
little tricky.
Yeah.
This episode, I had like 2 beers before trying to set up the soundboard mixer thingy, and somehow I
pretty
did
well.
it like way better. So Who knows? But this is a drunk tank. We do these maybe every few episodes. Hit us up on Patreon, patreon.com/thunktankpodcast, right?
Yeah.
And
If you want access to further madness such as this,
check it out. Yeah. You
Yeah.
get it's just a way for us to like find enough motivation to keep pushing forward on this podcast thing. Costs some money to have a podcast. We want to get Joe's still using a clip-on mic, which can also like get fritzy sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're trying to just get like a standard setup here where we can have a consistent vibe. So $1 an episode is the minimum, and then you get access to these random drunk tanks where we're already 3 or 4 beers in, and we go deeper and ramble.
We ramble and
That's
rant.
the safe way to say it, right?
That is the safe way to say it.
All right, I'm barely holding on here
I know.
anymore.
Yeah.
Any last words?
We'll see you for next episode, whenever the hell that is.
Thanks for listening. See
Yeah.
you next episode. Johnny, whatever you just said, none of it's true.
I would say less than none of it is true.
Less than none of it. That
Could mean anything.
could mean anything. You said words.
But that's the point. It depends on what he says. So we're covered. We're good.
We win.
Yeah. He
Uh,
loses.
It didn't even feel like a good win because he wasn't even like halfway aware that we were about to do it.
No, he had no awareness, which...
But I had to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to call it. He'll get us next time, though.
It's a hang-up game, folks,
Yeah.
if you didn't figure that out. Like,
Yeah. Someone's
whoever
gotta
hangs
pull
up
the
on
plug,
the other
yeah.
person first wins.
Yeah.
I just actually thought of something, though. This was a group Skype call, so Gat and Johnny are probably just talking still.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
of course
totally,
they are.
that's
yeah.
what's happening.
They're totally having... That's why I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, they're just still hanging
that's
out.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't noticed that we left yet.
They might not have.
All right, we'll see what happens.
All right.
Anyways, peace.
See you next time. Like, share, and subscribe.